Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective. In this video I will be reviewing WWE Summerslam 2023. So first up in that we had Logan Paul defeat Ricochet. I thought this was a really quality match, if not one of the better matches on the card. It wasn't as flippy as I assumed it was going to be, but it was an absolutely brilliant match overall. There was fantastic transitions of wrestling from both men, and you could tell they had really good chemistry together, and it wasn't the moments that they had before this at Money in the Bank or a Rumble weren't just one-offs. And the match worked really well, even though I would have preferred LA Knight in Ricochet's position. For this one, having a match with Logan Paul, I feel like this was, again, just really good position for Ricochet, and hopefully this is sort of a small push. I know that a lot of people really like him and want him to be further up the card. I'm not the biggest fan of Ricochet, I'm not going to lie, but I definitely prefer him to Logan Paul. But yeah, I liked how Logan mimicked Hulk Hogan. You know, controversy knows controversy, I guess. And yeah, I think I always find it really annoying how good Logan Paul is at wrestling, just because of how unsufferable he is. But again, he's just making celebrity matches. To be fair, it doesn't even feel like a celebrity match with Logan Paul anymore. It feels like him coming in every so often and having banger matches. And it's annoying, but I'm very happy with it. I think it works really well, and he said he's just had a complete track record of 100% great matches. I can't think of a bad Logan Paul match, to be fair. But for me, I think what let this match down was the finish. Having Logan use brass knuckles against Ricochet just didn't feel necessary. I felt like just the punch itself probably would have been enough. It felt like, to me anyway, it was just being a heel for the sake of being a heel. You know, he could have beat him clean and it wouldn't have hurt Ricochet that much, and it would have, if anything, it would have helped Logan Paul probably climb the ladder towards the championship if that's the way they wanted to go. But having him use a brass knuckle for no apparent reason didn't sit well with me. So though the match was really good, the finish really let it down. Following that, we had Cody Rhodes defeat Brock Lesnar. I was surprised this went on second, but as we all know, Brock Lesnar does not work by the hour. But for me, it was an alright match. If I had to choose one of the three, I think their first match was the best one. It kind of had a Cena Brock Lesnar SummerSlam 2014 feel to it at points, especially with all the suplexes that were going on in the amount of time Lesnar was on top. I'd probably say Brock Lesnar dominated about 80% of this match and lost, which doesn't seem very Brock Lesnar match kind of thing to happen. But I mean, I know it's happened before, but like, you know, when Brock Lesnar's trying to dominate somebody and then loses, it makes him look weak, I'm not going to lie. This pay-per-view had, well, premium live event, had a lot of repetitive nature to it, and for me, and especially this match, it was the constant going to a 9 count. It made no sense to me how Brock Lesnar, who loves to victimize his opponents and beat them down to a point where they can't get up, so we can get the pinfall win, would all of a sudden go for a count out win. It made no sense to me at all, and it made the match slog on a bit. You know, it felt like a really long match after Cody had finally got over the lump of, you know, Lesnar F5 and him, German suplexing him and then chucking him to the outside. It felt very unnecessary and wasted a load of match time in my opinion. But it's a great result for Cody Rhodes, though I do wonder what he's going to do after this, whether he feuds with Seth Rollins maybe, but then finishing the story isn't the World Heavyweight Championships. I don't want him to feud with Rollins. Maybe a feud with a heel Drew McIntyre. I feel that would bring out some good matches and would get him at least a Survivor Series. They probably get a couple of matches out of that, and then obviously what he does in the Survivor Series I'm not sure, but yeah, it's hard when Cody isn't on SmackDown to face Roman, but they also want to save that till WrestleMania. I've noticed over the last few months with feuds how, even though Raw drafted a ton of superstars, their roster seems to be really lacking in main event caliber talent, and they're not building anybody up to get to the main event of Raw's half of the show, which is disappointing. And it became more apparent with the Seth Rollins stuff and definitely with the Cody Rhodes stuff. Like, bringing in Lesnar's great. I do enjoy seeing Brock Lesnar, but it's the fact they've had to bring him in for 3 pay-per-views just so Cody's got a feud till SummerSlam. That's where my issues lie. As for Lesnar, I can't imagine we'll see him now to either WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, or Saudi Arabia, because we all know Lesnar likes a good Saudi pay. But yeah, overall, the match was alright. I enjoyed the ending with the show of respect, and it's a big thing for Cody, as he said in the afterwards. But as a match overall was kind of disappointing in a way. Following that, we had LA Knight win the SummerSlam Battle Royal. This match was exactly what they said it was. It was the Battle Royal. It was meaningless. They had any kind of reward for winning it, though you wouldn't have thought it from the fan reaction when LA Knight won the match. I popped. I know everybody else popped. It was awesome. It was like he won fucking Royal Rumble. It was incredible. And hopefully this does start off the push that he fully deserves, that they've been putting off for months now. And I'm really hoping that he at least goes for the US title. I don't think he's quite ready for the main event yet, but to get the US title from Theory would be really good if Escobar doesn't win it on SmackDown this week. But yeah, as I said, not much else to say about this one. It was just a Battle Royal, and storylines carry on. But I'm really glad LA Knight won. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on that one. Sorry, guys. Next up, we had Shayna Baszler defeat Ronda Rousey in a MMA rules match. I've got a feeling this is kind of biased, my hatred for Ronda Rousey. But for whatever reason, whenever Ronda Rousey has a match, it's awful. I hate it. It's not a good match at all. And it's exactly the same here. I didn't enjoy this one. I just didn't think it was any good. And there were some good points in the match. And that's when Shayna kicked Ronda straight in the head. I thought that was a really cool moment. And when Ronda pretty much kneed Shayna straight in the nose, I thought they were really brutal moments of the match. But that was about it for the deal of this one. I'd also question whether Ronda Rousey more or less no-sold the Karavuda clutch in this one, because she was struggling or trying to escape the hold when Shayna had it on. She then suddenly passed out. You saw her arm flop down and the referee stopped the match. But then it pans the camera to Shayna, who gets her arms lifted, and next time you see Ronda, which is not that long afterwards, she's sat up on the ropes and she's fine. And it's just like, just didn't sit well with me that she was okay that quickly. Like, she's just had a really personal match. She's been choked out by her best friend. She should have just stayed down and acted as if, she needed bloody medical help to resuscitate her or something, because, as I said, it just felt like a kind of Austin Aries against Impact moment where she kind of just got up straight afterwards like it was nothing. And yeah, I said I had high hopes for this one. I thought it was going to have some decent time as well. And yeah, for me, it's sadly disappointed. And speaking of something sadly disappointing, Gunther defeated Drew McIntyre to retain the Intercontinental Championship. This match was a massive letdown in my opinion, especially after the banger that they had at WrestleMania, including Sheamus. Apart from like the brutal chops that they both took and gave out, this match really wasn't all that good in my opinion. It felt very slow. I'd probably say it was Gunther's worst title defense so far of his reign. I am glad he got the win. I'm glad that they seem to be going that Gunther's going to be the one to take Continental record, which I'm very happy about. And yeah, I think the only good that can possibly come out of this is if Drew McIntyre comes out on Raw tonight and turns heel. He definitely needs to rejuvenate his character. And I feel like a heel run would be kind of good in that way, really embracing the Scottish psychopath persona. I know that puts a lot of heels on Raw, but I think Drew needs something more appealing, because this match didn't have a very good build-up. His return was okay, and this match wasn't very good either, so he definitely needs something that he's going to be back full time. But he wasn't part of that. He just he was having spaces out between injuries and stuff like that. So now he's like here to stay for a bit. Drew definitely needs something to kind of stand out from the rest, in my opinion. And yeah, again, it was a case of having high hopes and being let down. Which, okay, maybe it's on my part but after the bang they had at WrestleMania, I fully expected it to be a really good match. As going forward for Gunther, he seems to be entering a feud with Chad Gable / Alpha Academy, which should be really fun to watch. Alpha Academy are a really entertaining part of Raw, and we all know Chad Gable's a really good wrestler. So I think like they're gonna have some really, really good matches. Plus, we know that Gunther can put on good matches with smaller guys. For example, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate. He had great matches with them, and hopefully it'll be the same with Chad Gable. I can't see Chad taking the title off him, but it's a really good way for him to get from SummerSlam to Payback, and then having Drew come back again between Payback and Fastlane. That's the one where. By that point, I think Gunther takes over Honky Tonk Man's record. But either way, yeah, again, disappointing match overall. Expected more, but Gunther is still the Intercontinental Champion. So next up, we had Seth Rollins defeating Finn Balor to successfully retain the World Heavyweight Championship. I thought this was a decent match. It kind of was to be expected that these two would have a really decent match, and that the quality of wrestling would be really good. And yeah, I'm glad that they had the recall back to the SummerSlam match of like a few years ago, I can't remember how many, when Seth took the buckle bomb to the barricade instead of Balor. But that was, like, it was to be expected. These two are great in the ring. These two are fantastic together as chemistry wise. I think more people are talking about the Judgment Day afterwards, which is a shame for Seth Rollins and his title reign, especially as his uncle is next. And it's pretty much what I'm going to do here. I've got my notes written down here. Most of it is about the Judgment Day. And as far as the Judgment Day goes, I can see them doing a story where Balor is mad at Priest for costing him the title match when that simply was not the case. So pretty much it's Balor that messed up the interference of Priest by taking too long to get to the briefcase, putting his head over it and getting stomped into it. And if that is going to be the storyline going forward, then it's silly, because Balor will look like an absolute idiot. Because it's his fault it all went wrong. Dominic got taken out, Rhea just didn't get involved, Priest got told not to get involved, and then when he did get involved at the request of Finn Balor, Balor messed it up. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. And as a fan of the Judgment Day, it's very disappointing to see how this has gone down. And I can only really see this going one of two ways, which is either Balor brings in JD McDonough, and then they both leave the Judgment Day and do Judgment Day Wolfpack, or they just split up the Judgment. But it's hard to split up the Judgment Day when Dominic and Rhea have so much heat around them, and then you've got Priest and Balor who are kind of being laughed at almost. Or that's the way I see it anyway. That's what I've seen online. But yeah, as I said, it's disappointing that Rollins isn't the centre of attention after a title defence. The match itself was decent, but it wasn't the centre point of this. It's all been about the Judgment Day and all the backlash of it. I'm hoping we're not going to go into a ridiculous storyline with Judgment Day. Balor looks like an idiot, but it wouldn't shock me either. But yeah, overall, another letdown as far as SummerSlam matches. Next up, we had Bianca Belair defeat Asuka and Charlotte Flair to become the new WWE Women's Champion. I thought this was a great match. There was action throughout. The believability of the injury was all there as well. I had no doubts that these women could put on a really good triple threat match, especially Bianca and Asuka. They had a really good one with Becky a few years ago at Hell in a Cell, and now they're putting a great one on with Charlotte as well. And yeah, it just lived up to the expectations I had, and I was very happy with it, and that's why it's my match of the night. It was by far the best match on the show, and yeah, I was really happy with it. Each woman had their runners in control of the match. The chemistry between the three of them was really good. There's only one mishap in the match where Charlotte Flair's attire tried to go into business for itself, but you could see that all three were just very much enjoying it. And yeah, the fluidity of the wrestling was really good, and as I said, it just lived up to all my expectations. And very happy that Charlotte Flair took a back suplex and didn't land on the top of her head. But yeah, the injury to Bianca Belair, though I know now that it isn't real because I saw the fan footage, and the way the steps sounded as she landed outside the ring sounded awful. And then you saw her again and she's getting doctor's help and she's limping away, and it was very believable, and I definitely got worked. So you can call me Mark if you want, even though my name's Leo. And yeah, as I said, it was very believable, and that added to the match so much. However, as soon as the injury happened, I knew that if Bianca tried to get back into the match, maybe a cash-in was going to happen. So when Bianca ran back in to stop the figure 8 leg lock. I knew that kind of Io was at least going to try and cash in, and Shotzi was going to cost her. Not the money would just stop her from cashing in itself, or we were going to have a cash in successfully. And yeah, that was what happened. I think I've been watching WWE for over 17 years, and I think it's the first time I actually predicted a Money in the Bank cash in right after the pinfall happened. And I've got to say, I'm pretty proud of that fact. But yeah, I say respect to Bianca Belair. She made the injury look incredibly believable. And instead, the match was incredible. And, you know, I hope that these three are put together again because, as I said, it's really stood out in a show that was really lackluster in my opinion. And yeah, Bianca just shows once again how good she is at wrestling, even though she wasn't a fan growing up. When it comes to promos, the wrestling itself, and just all the psychology around it. But yeah, respect to Bianca Belair as she won the title for a brief second, and I'm now going to just move on in the bank. So after 95 seconds, I think it was, of being the WWE Women's Champion, Bianca Belair gets cashed in on by Io Sky, and we have a new WWE Women's Champion. And man, this is fully deserved. Io is fantastic in the ring. She, as I said, fully deserves the title reign major one in WWE. She had an NXT one where she did really well with that one. Now she's got this, and honestly, I couldn't be happier, especially after the reaction in Puerto Rico at Backlash and having match of the night with Bianca Belair. I've been fully behind Io. I've been behind her since she came back at SummerSlam last year, and yeah, it's it has only improved since. God, it's seen me so many times. But yeah, I fully popped when she won the title. I know the crowd fully did as well, and it's such the right time and right decision to go for Io Sky, as I feel like we're either going to get Bayley manipulating Io into being more heel-like, or in the opposite way, Io might start trying to make Bayley more face-type, which I think is really good. And the second point will also help with Bayley's face turn, as I feel like that's probably the best way to go. Bayley's a really good heel, but we haven't had this side of Bayley as a face yet. The last time Bayley was face is when she was doing Bayley buddies and stuff like that, so we could get a new version of face Bayley, which I very much like to see. The second reason this is really good is, for me anyway, this could be a time to reintroduce Belair as a heel. You can kind of take time off recovering from this injury, and then she can come back as more of a heel, which I would fully more enjoy. I'm getting very bored of this stale character from Bianca Belair. And you could also incorporate into a story with her husband Montez Ford, who's recently joined up with Bobby Lashley as kind of a 2.0 Hurt Business. And yeah, I feel like that'd be a really good way to go, as it seems like more females are joining male-dominated factions. Obviously, we've got it with Rhea Ripley in the Judgment Day, which has worked really well. We've also had it with Mia Yim in the OC, which hasn't worked as well, but the booking of the OC is atrocious. We also have it with Thea Hale in Chase University, so you know, it's kind of a 50-50 chance this works out if it were to happen with adding Bianca Belair to Bobby Lashley faction. And yeah, I don't know, it's kind of, I feel like the heel persona works for Belair more because there's now a story behind it. You know, only a few months ago she was on top of the women's division, and since Night of Champions she's lost the title. She got put to the side for Charlotte Flair, and now she's been cashed in on as soon as she's won the title, going from having the longest reign to the shortest reign in the space of a few months. And yeah, it's just a good character arc for a bad guy, and it would work really well. They're pretty much for 2 reasons, and so good to have Io cash in. But I'm also looking for the fact that we can have Io versus Asuka, which is a match I would love to see, and I know it would be an absolute barn burner. I'm hoping I really hope they do it at Payback, and maybe Fastlane as well with stipulation. But yeah, their promos together have been really good and in Japanese. So yeah, I know, I feel like it would be really enjoyable from a promo sense and from a match sense. So 100% please book that match. But yeah, as I said, just as a roundup, women's triple threat was really good, the match of the night, and the cash in was a great decision. Happy with the women's division at this part, though not as a whole. And yeah, very much happy with how this has all gone. And finally, in the main event, Roman Reigns defeated Jey Uso to retain the undisputed WWE Universal Championship and retain the title of our Tribal Chief. However, this was not very good, and I am very unhappy with this, and I may rant on a bit, but I feel like I have valid reason. You're going to have to forgive me. But first I want to talk about the match itself. The match itself was okay. It would have been very good if it was just a basic no DQ match or Falls Count Anywhere match. But as they called it a tribal combat match, it seemed like a huge deal, like something massive was going to go down. You know, Jey Uso said that the elders suggested it was built up as this massive thing. No attacks, no nothing. Jey and Roman touched heads, they shook hands, and it all seemed very calm, like it was going to be this massive hour-long match. Drama and emotions and everything going wrong and everything going right, and you know, Jey Uso was going to get so close but have it taken away. Yet that wasn't the case at all, and it's disappointing and almost laughable. Now it's a few days after and I'm about it, but one thing that went wrong from the start is WWE fashion, you know, typical from them, didn't explain the rules. I know the point was there was no rules, but with stuff like this, they always like have little caveats. Like I heard that there was going to be no interference, just as an example, no interference from anybody because the elders had demanded a one-on-one match. But as we all know, that just clearly was not the case, and it let down the match very, very much. Yeah, I feel like along with other people, you expected a lot more out of this match, and I say that people, you know, I did say to people that this could go down as one of the biggest matches of the year, one of the biggest matches of between 2020 and 2030, sorry. And yeah, it just didn't, like a lot of matches didn't live up to the expectations. And this was the biggest one by a country mile. And it's so disappointing to see, and yeah, it was a massive letdown, and notes have fallen down. I've written a lot. I've written a full page of notes just about this match. Trying to stick them back up quickly. Behind the scene perspective. But I do have a lot to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. It was set up to have emotions and drama and great action, which is what everything a match of the year, match of the decade needed, and it didn't deliver at all, and it's so annoying. And then Jimmy turned on Jey. And I have a full paragraph about this, so you'll have to forgive me. But number one, it wasn't clear that Jimmy has rejoined Roman in the bloodline. He could just be going into business for himself, and he still doesn't want anything to do with Roman. And which, yeah, could lead to a match at some point between Roman, Solo, Jey, and Jimmy, which I would love. And it's set up perfectly for WrestleMania. So we've heard that Cody's going to be facing WrestleMania. That's what I would do, or at least do it at Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble. Like, that is a fatal four-way match I know people would love to see. But as far as Jimmy turning, I have reasons. Well, I have multiple reasons why this can't be jealousy, and I have I've done a lot of research into this, but pretty much, right? If you think all the way back, you know, Jimmy turned on Roman back at Night of Champions. You know, saying in the process of his turn to Jey, he is doing something that Jey should have done months ago. Then Jey sides with Jimmy and turns on Roman. Jimmy tags in Jey intentionally for Jey to get the pin on Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank. Roman then beats the shit out of Jimmy in front of Jey, but Jey is trapped in the ropes and all he can do is watch. There is no way he can escape. You know, that's the way it was seen anyway. So then Jey challenges Roman to tribal combat in honor of Jimmy. But now Jimmy turns on Jey. But why is this? I don't know why. But as I said, it cannot be jealousy, because it's not like Roman chose Jey to be the right-hand man over Jimmy. Jimmy wasn't around in 2020 when all this was going down. Like, it wasn't like Roman sat them both down and he specifically chose Jey. Like, Jimmy just wasn't around at the time. after this, Jay intentionally lost a Universal Championship match to Roman to save Jimmy, who was in the guillotine at the time. Then we move on. I know my notes are like, they're not in storyline order, so you'll have to forgive me. But then once again, like, Jimmy was beaten down by Roman and Jay couldn't do anything about it because Solo would have beat the shit out of Jay and he was trapped in the ropes. There was nothing Jay could have done. Then Jimmy cost Jay the US title on SmackDown. Then, going even further back, Jimmy's the one that pinned Rey Mysterio to win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Jimmy nearly lost the unification match for the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships from RK Bro because he got RKO'd, and then Jay broke up the pin, went on a back and forth with Riddle, and with Roman's help, they won the Raw Tag Team titles and the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So it just makes no sense. There's nothing for Jimmy to be jealous about when there's all this stuff has been either out of Jimmy's control or Jay has helped Jimmy. You know, there's only two reasons I can think of, and trust me, they are incredibly minor. And number one is the fact that Jay took the pin at WrestleMania to lose the unification, oh my god, the undisputed Tag Team Championships. But again, that was months and months ago. If they were going to have the turn for that, they'd have done it already. And the only other thing, and it will be so silly if they do it down this way, is that because Jimmy is the older brother to Jay, Jimmy doesn't want to take orders from his younger brother. Therefore, he turned on him to make sure he doesn't become the tribal chief. And I think that's just a really, really silly way to go about it. And yet, that's everything I've written down. So, as far as Jimmy turning, it has to be a better reason than all this. And if he realised with Roman, that is even sillier. Like, the only way that I can really see this going to now is it being a fatal four-way match between Solo, Roman, Jimmy and Jay. That's the only way this can go with a half-decent payoff. But the Jimmy turning on Jay was unnecessary and didn't need to happen. If they wanted Jay to lose, they should have just had him lose clean and had the disappointment of the fans, all this other stuff, which they've dealt with before. Like, this honestly felt like a Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston, Jey Uso. And, okay, it didn't happen, and it probably won't happen now. Disappointing the fans in that way, we're used to it. We got it with Cody. I mean, most of us are over it. I'm over it anyway. And, yeah, I don't know, it was really deflating way to go about this, and I'm very interested to watch SmackDown on Friday to see the reason of Jimmy. And if Jimmy comes out on SmackDown and goes, I'm not going to give you a reason, then it's just like, just go away, get in the bin. Because they need to give a reason immediately, or else this whole Bloodline storyline is going to start falling apart. It's going to start turning on it. And they really don't want that. I feel like it has peaked, I think, the storyline, but they can save it with a decent reason as to why Jimmy left, why Jimmy has turned. And I feel like almost Roman to be fair, Roman needs to go away from Jimmy and Jay for a bit. We know he is. He's probably not going to show up again now till Survivor Series or Sam. So it's going to be a couple months before we see Roman again. He might do the odd SmackDown, but it's going to be a long time before we get another title defense. I don't know, maybe this is a way to concentrate on the storyline of the Bloodline without Roman being, which, if that is the case, this is a huge cop-out. This is unnecessary. But yeah, as a whole, this main event, an utter letdown. So those are my thoughts and quite negative opinions of SummerSlam this year. As I said, as a show overall, it was very lackluster. I think if I had to rate all the shows of the year so far, I'd probably say Night of Champions was the best, Backlash, Money in the Bank, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Elimination Chamber. I think that's all of them. But yeah, I don't know. This one issue this SummerSlam very much had was repetitiveness. Just in specific matches anyway, we had the count out stuff with the Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes match. We had the constant of Finn Balor going for a coup de grace. We had the what was it now? Sorry, I'm looking back on my notes really quickly. Yes, we had Gunther and Drew just slowing things down all the time. I know there's some other stuff that kept happening over and over again. One thing that my brother definitely pointed out was the repetitiveness of the matches. And yeah, I don't know, it was setting up to be like one of the biggest events of the year, probably bigger than WrestleMania, and it just wasn't the case, unfortunately, and it was real letdown, and it's a shame really, because the matches on it were really huge on paper, and they didn't live up to the hype or the expectations of myself anyway. But maybe my expectations were too high, but I felt like they were pretty bang on like what everyone else was saying. But I don't know. As I said, there's more disappointment in my voice than anything else. As for predictions, I actually did pretty good. Like the results in the matches weren't the issue. The matches themselves were the issue. Like I think I got 6 out of 8 overall, which puts my overall score, as you can see in the oh my god, there we go. 35 out of 52 overall this year, which I think I keep saying is pretty good. It's not 100%, but it's better than half. But so, as I said, quite disappointed with SummerSlam, and yeah, do comment down below how you felt about SummerSlam and anything else in general. Any feedback from myself? I brought on your microphone, a lot handier than the old one I used to have. But yeah, any feedback on the channel? I'm considering doing like a longer video on a Sunday, kind of giving my thoughts on the week of wrestling. So that's Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. So if that's something that interests you, do comment down below, and do follow the Instagram that I started not that long ago, but I do try and post quite often. It's just the_wrestling_retrospective. Any follows in there would be very much appreciated, and as always, I will ask you to subscribe and like and share and notification bell and all that YouTube shtick that everyone tells you to do, because of course it helps with the channel and it growing. The predictions video got over 800 views, which is huge for the channel. So I thank everyone that watched that, and I'm very, very much appreciative of that. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.